Hey everybody, I am here in a different location, not in my kitchen or out in the garage, in front of my smoker. Today I am going to do a couple things. This might be a long video, I'm not sure, just depends on how things go. But a little bit I want to talk about is one of the other things that I'm passionate about is miniature painting. So I'm going to kind of go over, I got a dragon here that I've started painting a while ago, and I'm going to try to do some touching up on it and do some shading and stuff on it. So I'm going to work on that. I'm going to do a little bit on this too, a little bit of a demon hellhound kind of thing that I got. But I want to start talking about kind of some thoughts that I have around Stereotype Steve and the where I would like to see it go. I know I have a bunch of you that follow me here on my personal page, and know that I have a website, stereotypesteve.com, for all the things that I'm passionate and nerdy about. One of the cool things about it is that that's kind of an avenue for me to kind of express the things that I really enjoy doing, and sharing them with you guys. Right now I have primarily only my smoking and my cooking on there, but I'm going to start doing some more of my gaming and stuff too, because that's also a huge passion of mine, something I really enjoy doing. So I do a lot of miniature painting. I'm by no means a professional at it. I'm not competition quality, but good enough to play at the table. And most of my friends that have miniatures painted by me are super pleased with what I've painted for them. So it's just something I'm really pleased with, and very passionate about. So I'm going to share some of that with you. The thought that I have going through my head right now is that I'm looking at trying to figure out how to help progress my content for you guys and improve the quality of the content that I send out, and that kind of stuff. So one of the things I'm thinking about doing is setting up, after talking to a few people, is looking into doing a Patreon subscription type thing, which will allow me to purchase nicer gear, do some enhancements to the website, that kind of thing. Because I'd like to get you guys some more information, some more content out, whether it's my cooking or my smoking, or my miniature painting, or even my gaming. I'd literally start doing some how-tos of how to start playing D&D, how to how to get into miniature painting, how to start. So those kinds of things that I just would like, increase or improve my quality of my paintings that I do, with the Patreon being able to buy better brushes and better paints, and just a better spot to paint. I haven't figured out all of that yet, how that's going to pan out or what I would do with it. I do. I am thinking of maybe doing, maybe sending a miniature, having somebody that subscribes on a monthly basis, painting them a miniature of their choice, in a thanks to helping back me, or you know, if miniatures aren't your thing, maybe you want to help my cooking and my smoking. So maybe I'll send my dry rub of your choice of my dry rubs that I make. Those are just kind of thoughts that I've got going through my head. I am not sure how to go about that yet. I haven't figured out the logistics, but it would be pretty cool to see all of you feedback of what you think. I know I've had a couple people message me or ping me on my previous post about my Patreon, or however I want to try to do it. Would be kind of cool to have start growing a following and having a little bit of extra help. Not like I said, not really sure what direction I want to go with this yet, but those are just some ideas that I have. 1 second here. Hey Elliot, thanks for following. Joe, thanks for tuning in. Dave, as always, you're always checking me out, watching my streams. John, you also. Michelle Fuller, fellow artiste, thanks for checking out my stream too. And with that, whatever decision I make probably is going to involve making a page on Facebook for Stereotype Steve and separate the content from my personal life to the stuff that I do with Stereotype Steve. So that way you guys have a place to follow me, and you don't have to. I don't have to bombard those that don't want to see all my posts and stuff on my personal page, and don't have to worry they just can deal with my personal stuff. So at some point that'll probably be set up. So with that, I am going to start doing some work with this miniature, but what I'm going to show you guys a few things that I use to help improve my painting. I started painting just by default, by eye, like with no help, no nothing, and a friend of mine borrowed me his jeweler's visor. Lets me magnify. It has standard magnification, and it has a second tier that I can flip up, and then there is a super close if I want to get really fine. There's multiple tiers, plus there's a light on it for lighting up my work area. So I use that when I'm doing fine detail, like on this guy right here. If I'm getting up on the face or onto the dagger or whatever, or need to touch up in little spots, or even down onto the belt around her waist, you can get on and detail that really well. Okay, so I really like that visor now that I've started using it. Another thing that I use, and I need to upgrade this, but I use a paint palette so I can mix my paints. If I need to do combination of colors or whatever, so I use this. The really nice thing is you can get these little sponges for water, and you can dip on those, put your paint on there, and it keeps it from drying out if you want to use those. I don't have them yet, but that's something else that I use. Obviously, X-Acto knives to trim off. I have these holders. I have this style, so it's a nice tall hold in my hand. It has a stand so it can stand. But then there's these also, which are just small pegs. These are the Wrathcore. This is wrathcore.com. It's the company. These are the PK Pro DE set that I got. I backed them on Kickstarter when they were out, so I really like these. Let's see here, a little bit more light. So got them right there. Okay, so I use those. You'll stick the miniature. If you have like putty, you can stick the miniature on there, and you basically can hold this and not have to hold your miniature and paint on it. So it's really nice. Otherwise, there are other attachments that you can use that grips the, like this one here. So this one just grips the base. I can stick it into the holder. Now I have it. The base is being held on by the cork, and I can work with the miniature. So obviously all sorts of different kinds of paints. I do have a jeweler's drill for drilling fine holes, especially if you have to glue on legs or glue a miniature together. This helps drill the little holes, and then what you do is you take, sorry I keep looking underneath my thing here to show you guys, grab something out. What you do is you take a rod like this. So you drill the hole, take this rod, put a little bit of glue on the end, stick it in the hole that you drilled. When it's firm and dried, clip off the end at the length that you need for the other end, and then drill the other piece as you need it, and then slide it in, and this helps firm a joint, so it keeps arms and elbows, and sometimes when you're putting like a metal miniature together, all they have is like a little dimple and a ball in the center, right? So you put this down, it keeps dimming out. So what you end up doing is that ball and that little joint is you glue it together, and by so a lot of times using it or dropping it or I don't know, just use in wear and tear, the joint will come apart, because it's just a surface, and it's just a little tiny little ball that has a little socket that goes in. Nothing firm to hold it together. So that's when you pin something like this. Use these to pin it. So you just use this. It's a little tiny copper rod. That's how you hold joints together. Use that pretty frequently when I'm doing metal miniatures. It really helps keeping them together. Alright. Okay. That back. I do have a bunch of files, shapes and different shapes and sizes for different types of filing that I have to do. If you need to file something down, this is really good more for metal miniatures. Again, when you're using pewter or those metal miniatures, that's a lot better. I use some kind of cup to do dry washes if I need to mix dry washes. So that's what this is. It's literally just like a Yag Bomb shot glass, but I use it. I fill the center with whatever dry or wash, so I can blend whatever colors if I don't have one, and do that in here. Hey Zach, what's going on, buddy? Thanks for checking me out. So I use that, and then obviously a cup for rinsing your brushes. Okay. All right, so I'm going to do some highlights on this guy right here, or some. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do some shadows first, and it's going to be easier to come back with. So some of the shadows I want to do is I want to get up underneath the ridges here, and really get a dark wash up under there, so it has actually you can see some definition of texture and depths. And because I mean, concept is when you're doing shadowing and highlights, is you want to look at the miniature as if it's the light is shining down on it from above, and then anything that doesn't have direct light on it, you are shading it darker as it gets further away from the light source. So then you start getting that, you know, like you can see in the wings, there is some contour here, and I could really highlight that contour and give it some definition, just by trying to play with some of these techniques of shadowing and highlights. So I'm going to attempt to do this. I have done this only a few times, sometimes with varying degree of success. So I don't want to take away from the actual miniature itself, but alright, so I'm going to take out my paints here, set them here, oops, around, and my paints and my brushes. So for doing these highlights, I'm going to grab a nice bigger brush here, nice wide, so I can dab up inside there. Put some water in here. And we're going to get this pliable. Alright. Alright, now I need to, I think, let's see here, I have, let's say blue, actually, you know what? It's actually pretty dark red, so I'm going to try that, maybe. Alright, so this is a red dragon, so I'm going to try to do this. Alright, so I'm going to change the angle of the camera. So give me a second here. I'm going to loosen this up, tighten this up here so it doesn't move, and I'm going to tip this down so we can see what I'm working on. Alright, so so you guys see that? It's a decent angle. Alright. Alright, so it's going to be challenging because I can't see my screen anymore, but we'll see what happens. Just gotta advertise for some friends of mine, guys at Prolific Games. Their new game that they did just this last year called Witch Slapped. pretty fun game, to be honest. So check them out, Prolific Games here in Minnesota. Alright, so I'm going to turn this thing over, and we're going to try to fill in these little areas right in here, okay? So I'll go right here. This might not be dark enough. Just might not be dark enough. I might have to go with a black. Just get it in all of those spots that light's not going to see very well, okay? Because this is trying to give it some depth, right? Don't worry if you get it over some things that already looks good, because we'll come back and we'll do some lightning as we can as we go here, because this is obviously a giant dragon, so it's going to be a work. It's going to take some time to get this to be where I need it to be. I may come back with a little bit darker at some point, just to get some of that depth in there that I'm looking to do. It's really going to allow a lot of things to pop. It's like you can see that I have gold on this dragon too, to allow it to kind of stand out a little bit. So that's definitely going to add a lot of pop to that gold also on this dragon. Don't want it running, so if you see it running other places, get it, because it'll cause funny streaks if you let it run. So alright. So here that are running along this one side, so gotta touch that up a little bit so it's not running all over the place. think of some of the guys, like I got friends of mine that do this competitively, and talking to them, like they spend sometimes up to like 30-40 hours on a miniature for a competition, to get all of those contrasts in place, right? That is, to me, that's just insane. But I mean, it is obviously a passion of theirs, just like it's a passion. This is a passion of mine. I'm just not at the same level they are. You know, maybe someday. I just know I'm not there yet. I need to improve my technique a little bit. Hey Pete, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for checking me out. Just painting doing some touch-ups on a miniature that I started painting almost a year ago, to try to, as I've gotten better at some of my techniques, I'm trying to improve on it. So I'm doing some very specific shading to this dragon. Try to allow a few things to pop a little bit better, give some increased depth here. I mean, it is a big dragon, so let's I'm gonna try to get this thing to really pop. Like I said, I really need to make sure that you don't get it running, because you'll get a pool of paint or wash on it, and it then really starts looking really funny. So I don't want that to stand out too much. Can you guys see this? Is it good? Is the lighting well? Do I need to change the angle? It's hard for me to tell what you guys can see and what you can't, and how well it's viewable for you. So if you could just text or post saying, hey, this is you need to change it. Hey, change your angle. I can't quite see what you're doing. Please tell me. I will definitely change my angle. Or if it's, hey, it's too dark, I will change my lighting a little bit. Alright, so Pete and Angela and Justin, thanks for checking me out. This is just working on a dragon that I started a long time ago. Just trying to do some shading on it and have this thing really start looking really like a dragon. Standing out and really starting to pop its scales and all of that. At some point I want to rebase this thing too, cut it off of its base, so right now it doesn't have really a base, so at some point I'll have to, rebase it. really hard to tell how good it's going to turn out until it's actually starts drying, obviously, because you never really know how good this is going to be when you're doing this until the wash dries. But I'm starting to see some texture and some depth coming through just by using this wash. Kind of really like this. Wasn't sure how this wash would turn out. Let's see here. I hope you guys can see this. Like I said, I really can't tell if you guys can see this or not. And it kind of looks like looks nice for me on my side, but doesn't mean you guys can see it all that well. Alright, let's just making sure I get all of this. Okay, and that's really kind of starting to stand out really well. It's obviously it's a work in progress. Like I said, some of my friends that do this for competition, they will paint the same miniature for several days, several iterations of it until they get it exactly, like all the pieces they're looking to stand out and all of that. Like they will really spend a lot of time getting all of that in place. So Tom, thanks for checking this out. Getting this dragon wing all kind of taken care of here, both sides. Sorry for the noise of the miniature, it's clicking on the table, but it's now to the point where it's so wet, you know, everything is wet all over. I can't really hold it in my hand now, so but I think this is getting there. Like, it's really starting to come together here. I scratched the one horn, so I'm gonna have to go back at some point and repaint that horn. And when you're doing this kind of work, really would help to have natural lighting too, of like what kind of environment you're gonna use your miniature in, to really bring that out. So alright, starting to, I think I got most of it now. It's just gonna sit and wait for it to dry, to be honest with you now. And see how it turns out. But I mean, I can kind of start seeing little, you guys see here, let me get this light up here. You guys can kind of see how some of the scales, especially on the back, we'll see how that turns out. But they're really starting to see some depth. See how that dries. To be honest with you, it's probably going to turn out really nice. Damn cats. Shed everywhere. Get hair all over my miniature. Alright, so we'll see how that dries out. As that dries. I think it's going to give some really nice contrast. We'll see how that goes. I may come in with some darker. There's one other technique that people use is like inking and stuff like that. So I may come in with a really fine tip. Maybe, you know, something like this tip. If you guys can see that, or something even finer than that. Let's see here. Let's see here. You know, maybe this one. This is even finer. So come in there and, you know, with a darker color and just kind of edge that inside of things just to see what happens. But we'll see. See how this turns out. This might turn out better than I thought or hoped. So we'll see how that goes. Alright. So let's see here. I have let's move him over. I think I'm going to do the same thing with this because I haven't done a lot of good. I painted this early on, and when I first started painting. So I'm going to try to do some on this too. Just on the base though, not on the miniature, because I want to do something different with the miniature. So I'm going to come in here and put a dab, some really heavy on the base, just so it gets in those cracks and crevices and gives some really nice depth. It helps as you try to get this kind of stuff done, having multiple colors for washes and shadowing. My mistake when I first started was using just a brown or black like that. That hindered everything I did. As I learned, there are so many more colors out there that you can be using, but I used the same thing that I was shown the first time I did this. So this is get up underneath these little crystals sticking out. Try to get some contrast here to show that, hey, this is the underside. make sure you have a workspace that you don't mind getting a little paint on or whatever either, because you'll definitely get paint all over by doing this. So all over everything. Looks like I got to repaint those horns on that dragon, but it's all good. I mean, it's night and day from what it looked like originally. We'll see how that pops, and then I can come back and with some highlights. It's also what I want to do on the dragon is once this dries, come in and doing some highlights, like highlighting the edges with a little bit lighter reddish color, up around the eyes, up along top here, peaking the tops of these scales on their back, and down its back and its tail, and just giving a little bit of, hey, there is a 3D depth there. So yeah, that's unfortunately I gotta wait for that one to dry. Let me this here. We'll set it up straight up there. Okay, so I'll put the thing down. Okay. Not sure I'll do too much more. Hey Cam, for now. I'll have to check back on this miniature when I get it dried and touched up on the horns. I rubbed it off or something, so I'm gonna have to fix that. But yeah, it is just a little bit that I'm seeing right now. It really looks like it's starting to make a difference. See a cat hair. See a hair here, unfortunately. But it's really, I think that it's going to turn out pretty good. So got that. The pooling right here. Rub off some of that in the pool. So you don't want it to drip. Because then you'll have funny colors and stuff, so funny little weird blurps on your miniature, but yeah, that's starting to get there. We'll see how it turns out after this dries and what I need to touch up on it. But that's kind of you know, texturing and getting depth and shadows on a miniature. That's pretty straightforward. Using various washes, like this one's a red that I use. This one was the Reikland Fleshshade from Citadel. So this is the shading. It's wash or shade. I have 5 other ones. So I have this one here, which is a Agrax earth shade, so it's more of a brown tones, darker. And I have this one here, which is a Newland oil, which is more of a dark black, very, very dark. If you need that, I do have a purple. So this one's the violet. So it's a violet color. And then this one is a nightshade, so this one's even a darker, kind of a nightshade color. It's almost a bluish. So primarily I use Citadel P3 colors, paints, but you don't have to, like, it doesn't have to be you know, Citadel or P3 or whatever. I have a bunch of this airbrush colors from US Art Supply that I use. These are kind of nice because they're already pre-mixed and thinned, so I don't know if you will need it thin. They're already pre-thinned, and then it's really nice to have, like, I got these here, bunch of the metallics. I got 5 actually metallic colors, so when you're dealing with metal or coin or something like that you need, or even a metallic dragon. And then this is if you're doing like a base, like this here right now is just a base that I could finish. I could put some glue on here, take this and sprinkle it around over the top, wait for it to dry, shake off the excess, and now I have a base that looks like earth, right? They have things like that. If you need it to be more rocky and stuff, there's actually, this is literally looks like small small rock. Whoops. So it looks kind of like small rocks. And that's the same idea. You take this, you put a little bit of paint or glue on the base, and then you dip it in here, swirl it around, pull it out, and then shake a little bit off, wait for it to dry, and then take the rest off. And then I have, these are pigments. So if you need to, say you have a piece of metal and you need it to look rusted or oxidized, that's what these are. So this one is called the rust oxide right here, and then this was brown iron oxide. And it's a powder. It's a powdered dye. So you put it in the cracks and stuff, and it makes it looks very rusty. One of the things that I'm out of, but this is a yellow ink. So when I talked about inking, you can actually ink along the edges and stuff if you need highlights or whatever. This is they make ink. I have a yellow and a red ink, right? So you can get those. But yeah, I have all sorts of colors in paints, varying from different types. So if you are a fantasy painter, there's fantasy style colors that fits the world that you're in. If you do Warhammer 40K, they have, Warhammer 40K type, armor for troops and stuff like that. So you can do that also. I'm a huge backer of RPG Crate also, and with that I get every month, it's a monthly subscription to RPG Crate. Sends you basically role-playing stuff, usually a module or some book of some sort, a miniature. There is a homebrew type role-playing campaign that RPG Crate, my buddy Chris that runs RPG Crate, they write. So every month you get 3 pages new to add to that, and they're literally one-offs, so you can fit them into your story however you want, if you want to, or you can run them through, because they are 1 through 12 or whatever, right? And there's various chapters to it, but you can use them as one-offs also. They're super easy. Has everything on one piece of paper or one card stock. So everything on one side has a bunch of stuff, and then has a miniature map and the details and stuff, and it even has the monsters or whatever that you would probably encounter on there also. And there's a T-shirt, and sometimes, like one month, we got dice, and I think another month we got, a couple of months in a row we got, not in a row, but a couple months there, a couple times we got fantasy coins to use during our D&D, or if you need props or whatever. So yeah, there's all sorts of things. I feel it's completely worth it. Sometimes you get if you know, fifth ed stuff. Sometimes you get your Pathfinder stuff in it. I got Pathfinder friends, so whatever comes in Pathfinder, I pass it along to my friends. So if you want to check it out, RPG Crate. I feel it's really worth it. I like it. I think that's all for now. I'm gonna let all you go, and maybe later when we check out this, once this dries, gets a good, dries really well, we'll take a look at how that texture now looks and the depth it is, and then we'll do some highlights. So this is honestly probably my first live stream since I started doing Stereotype Steve on painting. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment, or comment on anything that I talked about today, whether it's, hey, you're an idiot for wanting to do Patreon, or hey, it's a great idea, here's some ideas to help improve what you're thinking about, because I think it would be fun. But I think at some point here in the very near future, I will be moving my content to an actual Facebook group, or for Stereotype Steve, or another page just for Stereotype Steve. So this isn't just on here, and that way people that want to follow me, they can. So anyway, thanks for checking me out, and as always, don't be stereotypical. Stand out, be unique, be yourself, and be proud of it. Until next time, Stereotype Steve out. Peace to each and every one of you.